So I used to tell my students when I was teaching,
Ko sem učil, sem študentom povedal,
you are not allowed to sleep in class,
ni dovoljeno, da pri pouku spite,
but you can stand up, you can walk around the back,
lahko pa vstanete, stojite ali pa hodite tam do ozadja, mislim do zadnje stene.
so if you feel like you need to get up and stretch your legs,
Če čutite, da morate stati, da ne bi zaspali, jaz bom rekel,
that's fine, feel free to do that.
ste svobodni, da to naredite.
Right? And if you're snoring,
Če pa smrčite, vas bomo zbudili.
then I might wake you up.
Ja, evo.
Otherwise, I might let you sleep.
Drugače vas tudi lahko pustim spati.
Right. All right. So let's look at this topic for now.
Lotimo se zdaj tega predmeta.
So, looking at temptation,
Ko se spopademo s skušnjavo,
right? What temptation is
kaj je skušnjava?
it is a lie pretending to be the truth,
To je laž, ki se pretvarja, da je resnica.
right? And it's trying to get you to do something.
Vedno si želi, da bi vi nekaj naredili.
It's trying to get you to depend upon something that's not dependable.
Želi, da bi bili odvisni od nečesa, kar ni zanesljivo.
Right? It's trying to get you to fulfill your needs from a source that cannot fulfill your needs.
Želi si, da bi zadovoljili svoje potrebe z nečem, kar ne more zadovoljiti vaših potreb.
Or it's trying to get you to fulfill your needs in a way that cannot fulfill them.
Ali da uporabite način za zadovoljevanje potreb, ki ni pravi, ki ne bo tega storil.
So it's a ridiculous example,
Zdaj ta primer je smešen.
but it's like tempting you to breathe water
To je kot da vas nekaj vleče, da dihate vodo.
or to eat soil,
Ali da jeste prst.
right? Or to depend upon another person,
Ali da se zanesete na drugega človeka.
right? So that you're going to a place that cannot actually supply your needs.
Torej greste na kraj, kjer ne boste dobili tistega, kar bo zadovoljilo vaših potreb.
Now, as a result of temptation, if you give in,
Izid skušnjave, če popustite,
then you believe that you can live from something that causes death,
je, da verjamete, da lahko živite z uporabo nečesa, kar povzroča smrt.
you believe that someone other than God can supply your needs,
Verjamete, da nekdo drug, ki ni Bog, lahko zadovolji vaše potrebe.
and you believe that your needs can be supplied passively.
In da bodo vaše potrebe zadovoljene, ne da bi vi premaknili s prstom.
Meaning that all that you need is for somebody else to love you,
Boste mislili, da potrebujete, da nekdo drug ljubi vas
and so you can be fulfilled by their action.
in potem njihovo dejanje vas zadovolji.
But you can never be fulfilled by somebody else's action.
Ampak ne more vas zadovoljiti dejanje nekoga drugega.
You can only be fulfilled by your own action of taking in what you need.
Zadovoljeni ste lahko, ko z lastno dejavnostjo pripeljete tisto, vzamete tisto, kar potrebujete.
So a result of, of yielding to temptation
Če popustimo skušnjavi,
is that you're deficient,
da vam zdaj začne primanjkovati
and if you don't fill up, you're going to die.
nečesa in če se ne nasitite, boste umrli.
And you cut off your needs,
Vi se ločite od potreb oziroma onemogočite pristop,
not that they're cut off to you from outside,
nihče vam ne vzame tistega, kar potrebujete.
but you cut yourself off inside.
Sami preprečite dostop.
And you do this because of believing a lie.
To naredite zato, ker verjamete v laž.
So this guy is holding his breath,
Ta človek poskuša zadržati dih.
and if he keeps holding his breath too long,
Če bo to počel dolgo časa, predolgo,
clearly there's going to be problems,
seveda bo imel težave.
right? And the question is, why is he holding his breath
Vprašanje je, zakaj to počne
and not supplying what he needs?
in zakaj ne zadovolji potrebo, ki jo ima.
Well, it's because there's something that he believes.
Zaradi tega, ker ima takšno prepričanje.
right?
O nečem je prepričan.
And so he's going after his belief.
In ravna tako, kot je prepričan.
As we looked at Thursday,
V četrtek smo govorili,
we looked at how the heart functions.
kako deluje srce.
And since there are some here that weren't here on Thursday,
Ker nekateri od vas niste bili tukaj v četrtek,
there's two ways that we can attempt to function.
ponovimo. Dva načina sta, na katera lahko poskušamo funkcionirati.
We can either do so according to the delusion
Lahko to naredimo v smislu utvare
or according to the truth.
ali pa v smislu resnice.
And the heart is what evaluates gain and loss.
Srce vrednoti v smislu dobička ali izgube.
And anything that we evaluate to be a loss, we say no to it.
Za vse, kar mislimo, da je izguba, rečemo ne.
And everything that we see to be a gain, we say yes to it.
In če imamo kaj za dobiček, bomo rekli ja, daj.
Right? And so we're always going after the gain and avoiding the loss.
Vedno se potegujemo, da bi imeli dobiček in se hočemo izogniti izgubi.
On this side,
Na tej strani tukaj
my gain is receiving
je dobiček, če prejmem več.
and my loss is not receiving.
Izguba je, če ne prejmem nič.
But this is dependent upon whether others give or don't give.
Ampak na ta način ste odvisni od tega, kar drugi dajejo ali ne.
So now I'm a slave to others
Torej, na ta način postanem sužen drugim.
because my gains and losses are dependent upon how they behave.
Ker dobiček ali izguba je odvisna od tega, kako se oni vedejo.
I think that things belong to me and come from me.
Meni se zdi, da stvari pripadajo meni in da prihajajo iz mene.
I give from myself,
Jaz dajem svoje
and so I'm a God.
in zato je to isto, kot da rečem, jaz sem Bog.
And what I give is for the sake of receiving something in return.
Kar dajem zaradi tega, da bi dobil v povračilo nekaj drugega.
And this just doesn't work.
In to ne deluje.
It's me upside down,
To sem jaz na glavo obrnjen.
right? Now, the truth is
Resnica pa
that gain is giving,
je, da dati dobiček,
and loss is keeping it to myself.
obdržati zase je izguba.
And over here, I can control my gains and losses
Na tej strani jaz nadzorujem, ali bom imel dobiček ali izgubo.
because they're dependent upon my own decisions.
Ker je vse odvisno od moje odločitve.
And if I'm going to give,
Če dam,
I recognize that I have to have something,
jasno mi je, da moram nekaj imeti, da bi dal.
so I need to come and take it first,
In to se pravi, da najprej mora vzeti,
then I can have it,
da bi imel
and I can give it.
in dal.
And I don't invest in other people
Jaz ne vlagam v druge ljudi
with an expectation of return for myself.
z upanju, da bom dobil dobiček,
I give,
ampak dam.
right? And nobody else can force me into loss
Nihče me ne more prisiliti v izgubo,
because my gains and losses are about my choices, not yours.
ker je moja izguba ali dobiček moja izbira, ne vaša.
And this is right side up.
To je prava stran.
And so if I'm living over here,
Če živim na levi strani,
oh man, there's all sorts of problems, all sorts of chaos,
kaotično je in veliko težav imam.
right? So temptation always appeals to our needs.
Skušnjava vedno nagovarja naše potrebe.
It always appeals to gain,
Vedno se poteguje za dobiček,
but it does so in the context of a deception.
ampak to naredi v sobesedilu, ki je varljivo.
And the deception is that while you're trying to fulfill your needs, you're not fulfilling them.
Da prevarajo v tem, da vi mislite, da zadovoljujete svoje potrebe, ko pa jih ne zadovoljujete.
While you think that you're pursuing gain, you're actually pursuing
Ko
loss.
mislite, da boste imeli dobiček, pridelujete izgubo.
And you continue to govern yourself according to that deception.
Vi se vedete, upravljate s sabo v skladnosti s to prevaro.
And you end up cutting yourself off from what you need.
In na ta način se oddaljujete od tega, kar potrebujete.
Right? And so that's a problem.
To je torej težava.
Now, if my needs are not satisfied,
če moje potrebe niso zadovoljene,
then there's going to be suffering.
bo trpljenje.
And if my needs are satisfied,
Če pa so zadovoljene,
then there's going to be satisfaction.
bo zadovoljnost.
And if I'm operating by this heart,
Če delujem na tej strani,
my needs are not going to be satisfied.
ne bom zadovoljil potreb,
And if I'm operating by this one,
pa če imam ta načela na desni strani,
then they will be,
bodo zadovoljene.
right? Now, what if we are suffering
Kaj, če trpimo
and then we find something that removes the suffering for a period of time?
in najdemo nekaj, kar odmakne od nas trpljenje za nekaj časa?
Or something that replaces it with a form of pleasure for a little while?
Ali kar nadomesti trpljenje za nekaj časa z nekim ugodjem ali užitkom?
But it doesn't actually fulfill the need.
V resnici pa ne zadovolji potrebe.
Well, if you find something that relieves your suffering,
Če najdete nekaj, kar je pomoč pri vašem trpljenju,
well, you're attracted to that,
vas privlači, seveda.
right? There's a desire to go back and participate in that again.
Želite se vedno nazaj vrniti in udeležiti tega.
And if there are not any negative consequences,
Če ni nobenih negativnih posledic,
or the negative consequences are very minimal,
ali so te zelo majhne,
then for the sake of the temporary gain that you get,
potem zaradi začasnega dobička, ki ga dobite, tako,
you go after it again.
ponovno greste, da bi to dobili.
Right? Now, the more immediate and intense the negative consequences,
Če so negativne posledice takojšnje in kaj še? In intenzivnejše,
right, the less likely you're going to try it again.
težje boste šli ponovno po to.
Right? So, like if the first time you smoke,
Torej, če bi prvikrat, ko kadite,
a finger falls off,
prst odpadel, vam prst odpade,
well, probably there wouldn't be very many smokers,
ne bi bilo veliko kadilcev,
right? Because
Verjetno.
the consequence would be pretty severe,
ker so posledice zelo ostre
and it happens right away.
in se zgodijo takoj.
You know, it's the reason why many of us don't just drink poison.
Zato nihče od nas po navadi ne pije strupa.
Right? Because people have tried it.
Ljudje so to poskusili nekoč,
It had severe consequences.
imelo je hude posledice,
They happened pretty quickly.
zelo hitro se je zgodilo
And now the rest of us look and we go, oh no, I'm not going to touch that.
in drugi rečemo, ne, tega se ne bom dotaknil.
Now, this is off the subject, but it came to my mind.
Prišlo je na misel, zato sem rekel, ne govorimo o tem zdaj.
Have you ever wondered
Ste se spraševali kdaj,
who figured out
kdo je iznašel,
whether that plant was poisonous or not?
ali je ta rastlina, ki je pred mano, strupena ali ni?
Right? I mean, like there are plants out there and they are deadly.
So rastline, ki so smrtno nevarne.
Like who figured that out?
Kdo je to ugotovil?
Did you get 6 people together
Ali ste dobili 6 ljudi
and you draw straws?
in ste vlekli kocko metali?
All right, you get to try it.
Aj, ti boš zdaj poskusil tole.
Now everybody stands around and waits and watches.
Drugi čakajo in opazujejo.
And if you die,
Če umrete,
they're like, oh no, we're not touching that.
potem veste, da je to.
Next
strupeno.
plant.
Druga,
All right, who tries?
kdo bo zdaj
Right?
poskusil?
And some plants, it's very interesting.
Nekatere rastline, kar je zanimivo,
Everything above ground, deadly poisonous.
deli, ki so nad zemljo, so zelo strupeni.
But you eat the roots,
Korenina pa,
no problem.
če jo pojeste, ne boste imeli težav.
Like who figured that out?
Kdo je to odkril?
And how did they figure it out?
In kako?
Right? And other plants, the whole thing is deadly except for the seeds.
Pri nekaterih drugih rastlinah je vse strupeno razen semena.
I'm not the one that's going to volunteer
Jaz ne bom dvignil roko, da bi
to figure out whether it's deadly or not,
šel pogledati, ali je kaj, da bi se ugotovilo, ali je kaj
Right?
strupeno.
But
ali
if
ne.
the consequences come and they're very hard and they come quickly,
Če posledice hitro pridejo in so zelo težke,
you're not likely to try that thing again.
ni verjetno, da bi še kdaj
Right?
poskusili.
But there can be a time factor to it.
Vendar je en faktor tudi čas.
What if when you're smoking,
Kaj če kadite,
your fingers don't fall off today,
vaši prsti ne padejo takoj,
or tomorrow,
ali jutri,
or next year,
ali naslednje leto,
or 10 years later,
ali 10 let pozneje.
but it takes 30 or 40 years of smoking before your fingers start falling off,
Ampak morate počakati 30 ali 40 let, da vam odpadejo prsti.
right? Well, if you had a gain
Če imate dobiček,
temporarily every time that you smoked,
kadarkoli kadite,
you might be willing
začasno,
to face 30 years of gains
morda boste zamenjali 40 let dobička,
even though your fingers might fall off in another 30 or 40 years.
čeprav veste, da se bo takrat po 40 letih zgodilo, da vam odpadejo prsti.
So a false substitute can never supply what you need,
Nadomestek nikoli ne more zadovoljiti vaših potreb.
and so the underlying problem continues.
In tisto, kar je vaša osnovna težava, se nadaljuje.
So if you're hungry
Če ste lačni,
and you eat styrofoam,
stiropor, ja. Če ste lačni in jeste stiropor,
well, that might make you feel full for a little while,
morda boste čutili, da ste siti,
but it won't actually satisfy your need.
ampak vaše potrebe bodo ostale nezadovoljene.
So it might make you feel better for a little bit,
Morda se boste za nekaj časa počutili, kot da je dobro,
but it doesn't give you the strength and the energy that you need from the food.
ampak tako ne boste dobili moči in veselja, ki ga dobite, ko jeste hrano.
And it's going to block up your bowels,
In bo tudi preprečilo, zaprlo bo črevesje
right? And so it's only going to make the problem worse over time.
in s časom se bo samo še slabšalo.
And so this is what happens with an addiction.
Tako se dogaja, ko gre za zasvojenost.
There's some kind of need that is not satisfied,
Obstaja neka potreba, ki se ne zadovolji,
and you find some substance or behavior
najdete pa nekaj, je ali snov ali vedenje,
that takes away that discomfort for a while,
ki za nekaj časa odmakne od vas to neugodje.
but it doesn't actually satisfy the need,
Vendar v resnici ne zadovolji vaše potrebe,
and then it ultimately makes things worse,
a na koncu pa zelo poslabša stvari.
and so it continues,
In to se potem vrti v krog.
right? So the missing need
Manjkajoča potreba,
leads to suffering.
torej nezadovoljena potreba pomeni trpljenje.
Then I participate in some behavior or use some substance.
Potem jaz nekaj počnem ali uporabim kakšno snov,
Then I feel some relief temporarily,
začutim olajšanje za nekaj časa,
but that it doesn't actually satisfy my need.
ampak to ne zadovolji mojih potreb.
And usually there's some guilt that comes eventually,
Navadno pride občutek krivde tudi.
right? And then that compounds the issue.
In to zdaj poslabša stvari.
And so the addiction continues around and around in a cycle.
In tako se vse vrti v krog, ta zasvojenost ostaja.
Now the question is, what is the need that is missing?
Torej, katera potreba ni zadovoljena tukaj?
That is the beginning of the addiction cycle,
Ki je bila v začetku tega cikla.
right? Well, the thing that is missing
Tisto, kar manjka,
is love,
je ljubezen.
right? And when there's a lack of love,
Če čutimo pomanjkanje ljubezni,
then there's a discomfort associated with it.
s tem je povezano nelagodje.
Everything that you need,
Vse, kar potrebujete,
when it's lacking,
če ne dobite,
there is some kind of suffering.
je neke vrste trpljenje.
If you need food,
Če potrebujete hrano,
then you feel hunger.
čutite lakoto.
If you need water,
Če potrebujete vodo,
you feel thirst.
ste žejni.
If you need air,
Če potrebujete zrak,
you feel suffocation.
čutite, da se dušite.
If you need acceptance,
Če potrebujete sprejemanje,
you feel rejection.
čutite, kot da ste zavrnjeni.
If you need belonging,
Če si želite pripadati,
you feel abandonment.
ne da si želite, ampak potrebujete, čutite, da ste zapuščeni.
Right? And when you need love
Če pa čutite, potrebujete
and you
ljubezen
don't have it,
in je ni,
sometimes it's just an emptiness.
čutite včasih praznino,
Sometimes it's a loneliness.
včasih osamljenost.
There's just something there in the background.
Nekaj je v ozadju, morda si ne morete niti
And
vedeti kaj.
and sometimes you can't describe it well,
Včasih ne morete opisati tega, kako dobro opisati to, kar čutite.
right? But it can be specific,
Lahko je specifično.
like acceptance and rejection,
Sprejetost ali zavrnjenost,
belonging and abandonment.
sprejetost ali zapuščenost.
You need honesty, but then you feel betrayed.
Potrebujete poštenost, ampak vi ste izdani.
You need protection, but you feel abused.
Potrebujete zaščito, ampak čutite, da vas zlorabljajo.
You need appreciation, but you feel unappreciated.
Potrebujete, da vas cenijo, ampak vidite, da vas ne.
You need understanding, but you feel
Razumevanje
misunderstood.
potrebujete, ampak čutite, da vas ne razumejo.
You need interest, but you feel ignored.
Potrebujete, da se zanimajo za vas, ampak vas zanemarjajo.
Right? So these are very specific things,
To so prav specifične stvari,
but then it can also be just
določene.
this emptiness.
Ampak je tudi nedoločeno, kot je praznina.
Now, when you have that emptiness,
Ko čutite to praznino,
that lack of love,
pomanjkanje ljubezni,
now you run across some kind of substance or a behavior
in najdete kakšno substanco, snov ali pa obnašanje,
then there's a relief for a little while,
ki daje malo občutek, da ste osvobojeni.
but it actually does.
Da.
Yeah,
Utehe.
it doesn't actually fulfill your need for love.
Ampak to ni zadovoljilo vaše potrebe po ljubezni.
And when you supply something that doesn't actually meet the need,
Ko vzamete nekaj, kar ne zadovolji potrebe,
then there's some guilt associated with
s
it.
tem je povezana krivda. In gre v krog.
Right? And boom, addictions.
In tako ste zasvojeni.
Right? Now, what I find that people need
Jaz sem ugotovil, da ljudje potrebujejo
is they need to understand
razumevanje
who God is
o tem, kdo Bog je
and what He's like.
in kakšen je.
Right? Because most individuals don't have a clue.
Ker večina sploh ne ve o tem nič.
I mean, I grew up going to church and I didn't have a clue.
Jaz sem odrasel v obiskovanju cerkve, ampak nisem imel pojma.
Right? So if we see God as punishing,
Če mislimo, da Bog, če ga pojmujemo tako, da kaznuje
angry,
in je jezen,
He created us so that we could serve Him.
on nas je ustvaril, da bi mi služili njemu,
Right? He uses us for His purposes.
on uporablja nas za svoje neke namene.
And so then we have a God that's selfish.
Torej imamo Boga, ki je sebičen,
And if we have a God that's selfish,
in če pojmujemo Boga tako,
well, all we can hope to be is selfish if we follow that kind of God.
ne moremo si pričakovati, da bi bili nekaj drugega, kakor sebični.
But if we recognize that God is loving,
Če pa spoznamo, da je Bog ljubezen,
that He's unselfish,
da ni sebičen,
that He will put Himself at any disadvantage to give us the advantage,
da bi on rajši čutil vse pomanjkanje, da bi nam dal prednost,
that He has our best interest in mind,
da ima naše največje dobro v mislih,
that everything that He does is for the sake of others,
da vse, kar dela, je dobro za druge.
then we can love a God like that
Takšnega Boga lahko ljubimo,
because a God like that loves us.
ker takšen Bog ljubi nas.
Right? And what we need is love.
Potrebujemo ljubezen.
Right? And when we recognize that we belong to Him,
Ko spoznamo, da pripadamo njemu,
that we're a child of God,
da smo Božji otrok,
that He calls us His own child,
da nas on imenuje sam svoje otroke,
right? Then, well, then we have a place of belonging.
potem razumemo, da že pripadamo.
Now we have somebody who takes interest in us,
Imamo nekoga, ki se zanima za nas
and He's looking to do everything that He can to set us free,
in išče priložnost, da naredi vse, da bi nas osvobodil.
right? Now that gives the addict hope,
To zasvojencu daje upanje.
right? And we all need hope,
In vsi potrebujemo upanje.
right? Now, what guilt does
Kaj naredi krivda?
is it causes us to cut ourselves off from God.
Krivda povzroči, da se mi sami odmaknemo od Boga.
All right,
ločimo.
we see that even from the beginning with Adam and Eve.
To smo videli tudi v začetku. Z Adamom in Evo se je zgodilo.
Right? Adam and Eve, when they ate that fruit,
Ko sta jedla tisti sadež
and then they heard God was coming,
in potem sta slišala, da Bog prihaja,
they ran away and they hid.
sta zbežala in se skrila.
Right? But what did God do?
Kaj je Bog naredil?
Well, he went looking for them.
Poiskal ju je.
Right? So sin does not separate God from us,
Greh ne ločuje Boga od nas.
but it will convince us to separate ourselves from him.
Nas bo greh prepričal, da se ločimo od Boga.
Right? And the more guilt I have,
In večja krivda je, ki jo čutim,
the more I separate myself from him,
bolj se bom ločeval od njega.
but he's exactly who I need.
Ampak on je ravno tisto, kar potrebujem.
And if I'm going to have love, I need God.
In če hočem čutiti ljubezen, potrebujem Boga.
And so now I get into a cycle
In zdaj sem v nekem krogu,
of trying to behave well enough
v katerem se poskušam ravnati dovolj dobro,
so that God will love me,
da bi me Bog ljubil.
so that I can, so that he will help me,
Če me bo ljubil, mi bo pomagal,
so that I can be free.
da sem svoboden.
But the basis of all of my efforts
Ampak temelj vsega, kar delam,
is me trying to convince God to love me.
moj poskus, da prepričam Boga, da me ljubi.
And if I have to convince somebody to love me,
Če moram nekoga prepričevati, da me ljubi,
they don't love me.
me ne ljubi.
And so I have a God that doesn't love me.
Tako imam Boga, ki me ne ljubi.
All right? And if I need love to be free,
Če potrebujem ljubezen, da bi bil svoboden,
and I have a God who doesn't love me,
in imam Boga v mislih, ki me
then
ne ljubi,
then I can never be free.
potem ne bom nikoli svoboden.
And I'm stuck.
In sem obtičal.
Right? And that's why when I travel, wherever I travel,
In ko potujem po svetu,
I need to teach people
moram poučevati ljudi,
that God is exactly what they need,
da je Bog ravno tisto, kar potrebujejo.
and he's not like what they thought he was.
In ni takšen, kakor si predstavljajo, da je.
He loves you,
Ljubi vas,
not because you're lovely,
ne zato, ker ste vredni ljubezni,
not because you behave a certain way,
ne zato, ker se vedete na pravi način,
but because he is love,
ampak zato, ker je on ljubezen
and because you are his,
in ker ste že njegovi.
and he loves you because of what's in him,
In on vas ljubi zato, ker je zaradi tega, kar je v njem,
not because of what's in you.
ne zaradi tega, kar je v vas.
Right? And so your behavior doesn't adjust how God loves you.
Vaše vedenje ne spreminja tega načina, kako vas Bog ljubi.
In fact, there's nothing that you can do to get him to stop loving you.
Pravzaprav ni ničesar, kar bi ga prepričalo, da bi vas nehal ljubiti.
Right? And when you have a God who loves you regardless of how you behave,
Če imate Boga, ki vas ljubi, ne glede na vaše obnašanje,
and he has your best interest in
in
mind,
ima vaše dobro v mislih vedno,
then you have freedom to make mistakes
potem imate svobodo, da bi tudi da bi pogrešili,
without him slapping you around,
ne da bi vam klofuto dal,
but loving you and encouraging you to get back up.
ampak vas bo ljubil še naprej in vas bo spodbujal, da ostanete.
Now, if you have somebody that's in addictions,
Če imate nekoga, ki je v neki zasvojenosti
and they're also religious,
in tudi veruje v Boga,
then the guilt is like, ooh,
potem je huda krivda, ki jo čutijo.
right? They're going to have an exaggerated sense of guilt associated with their addiction.
Imeli bodo pretiran občutek krivde glede na to, kar delajo.
And that will drive them farther from God
To jih bo odvleklo proč od Boga.
and harder into their own attempts to overcome
In še bolj se bodo trudili, da bi premagali zasvojenost.
which don't work, and it's frustrating.
In to nikakor ne deluje in zato zelo frustrira ljudi.
Right? So, the evaluation of right and wrong
Ocenjevanje dobrega in hudega
comes in the conscience,
pride z zavestjo.
and the evaluation of gain and loss is in the heart.
Torej, govorili smo o vesti in srcu kot nasprotju. Ocenjevanje izgube in dobička je stran srca.
Right? And when the conscience and the heart are in darkness,
Ko sta zavest in srce v temi,
you naturally avoid the right and you do the wrong.
vi se izogibate, naravno se izogibate luči in temu, kar je dobro, in delate, kar je slabo.
And you're happy with with the effect.
In ste
Well, no, you're happy with your choices.
zadovoljni ste s svojo izbiro.
All right. So sorry, I can't help but teach.
Spet se ne morem premagati, sem učitelj.
All right. So if here, because I don't know how to write in your language. So if you write information, all right, conscience, heart, and will, your will. All right, and then at the end, actions. All right. So, when information comes in,
Ko podatki pridejo v nas,
you're going to evaluate that information.
boste ocenjevali te podatke.
And the conscience evaluates information according to good and right and wrong.
Zavest bo ocenjevala glede na to, kaj je prav in narobe.
The heart evaluates information in regards to gain and loss.
Srce bo podatke ocenjevalo v smislu dobička ali izgube.
This is conscious to us,
To je zavestno,
and this is unconscious to
to
us.
pa je za nas nezavedno.
But when it comes to the
Zavedno in
will
nezavedno. Ko gre za voljo
and putting it into action,
in spremembo volje v dejanja,
that becomes conscious to us again.
to ponovno postaja zavedno naše.
So I'm conscious
Jaz sem zaveden,
that I know that it's right or wrong,
da vem, kaj je dobro in slabo.
and I'm conscious of what I do,
In se zavedam tega, kar počnem.
but I'm not conscious of this,
Ampak se ne zavedam tega, kar se dogaja tukaj.
right? So if my conscience has the wrong scale,
Ko, did you say conscience is...
conscience,
Oh, okay, then I have it.
you have conscious.
Samovest. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
Torej,
So,
gre za vest.
yes. All right, so when my conscience
Ko moja vest pravi,
has the wrong scale,
ko ima napačno merilo,
now I weigh the information wrong.
jaz tehtam informacije, zdaj dobim napačen rezultat.
Now I see the good as, or the right as wrong,
Jaz zdaj vidim dobro kot slabo
and I see the wrong as right,
in slabo vidim kot dobro.
right? So when the wrong comes,
Ko pride kaj slabega,
I look at it and I go, oh, that's right,
jaz pogledam in pravim, to je prav.
right? And then it goes to the heart,
Grem v srce, v pozavest.
and if the conscience has the wrong scale,
Če vest ima napačno merilo,
the heart also will have the wrong scale,
bo tudi srce imelo napačno merilo.
right? So it looks at the wrong and goes, oh, that's a gain.
Ko srce zagleda tisto, kar je slabo, pravi, ja, to je dobiček.
So the wrong comes,
Prihaja napačno,
I go, oh, that's right.
jaz pravim, to je dobro,
Oh, that's a gain.
to je dobiček,
I goes to the will
to pride do volje
and I do it,
in jaz naredim.
right?
Se odločim za.
Now, if the right comes,
Ko pride dobro,
I look at it and I go, oh, that's wrong.
pogledam in rečem, to je slabo.
The heart says, oh, that's loss. I mean,
Yes.
yes, it says
Srce
that's
pravi, to je
loss.
izguba.
And that goes to the will,
To pride do odločitve
and the will says, no, I'm not going to do that.
in volja pravi, ne, tega ne bom naredil.
So you do the wrong
Delaš slabo
and you don't do the right,
in ne delaš dobrega.
and you're happy with it
in si zadovoljen s tem.
because you think you're doing the right and
Ker
avoiding
misliš,
the
da delaš
wrong,
prav in se izogibaš slabemu.
right? Now, the next scenario,
Druga možnost je,
now the conscience has the right scale,
vest ima pravo merilo,
but the heart still has the wrong scale.
ampak srce še vedno ima napačno.
Now, the information comes in,
Pride informacija
and let's say that it's the wrong.
in naprimer slaba informacija, napačna.
And the conscience goes, oh, that's wrong.
In vest pravi slabo je.
And then it goes to the heart,
Srce pa pravi,
and the heart says, oh, that's a gain.
to je dobiček.
And so that's sent to the will,
In to, ko to dobi volja,
and the will does it,
in volja naredi.
right? So you knew it was wrong,
Ti si vedel, da je slabo,
you were conscious that it was wrong,
zavedal si se tega, da je slabo,
you did it anyways,
ampak si vseeno naredil
and you didn't know why you did it anyways.
in ne veš zakaj.
It's because of this,
Zaradi tega dela tu.
right? Because this still has the wrong scale,
Podzavest ima še vedno slaba merila.
and so it evaluates gain and loss backwards,
In narobe ocenjuje dobiček in izgubo.
and now you knew it was wrong, but you did it anyways,
Vedel si, da je slabo, ampak si vseeno naredil.
right? Now, if the right comes,
Če pride dobro,
the conscience goes, oh yeah, that's right.
vest pravi, ja, to je prav.
And then the heart goes, oh, that's a loss.
In srce pravi, ne, to je izguba.
And it goes to the will,
Ko pride do volje,
and you don't do it,
tega ne narediš.
right? So you know it's right, but you don't do it.
Veš, da je prav, pa ne delaš.
You know it's wrong, but you do it anyway,
Veš, da je slabo, ampak vseeno narediš.
right? And there's that conflict, you know.
V tem je spopad.
Right? The final scenario,
Zadnji možni scenarij,
both the conscience and the heart have the right scale.
tako vest, kakor tudi podzavest, imata dobro merilo.
Now the wrong comes,
Pride slabo.
and the conscience says, oh yeah, that's wrong.
Vest pravi, to je slabo.
And the heart says, oh, that's a loss.
Srce pravi, izguba.
Goes to the will,
Volja,
and you don't do it.
you don't do it.
You don't do it.
In tega ne naredite.
Right? And the right comes,
Pride pravo,
And
dobro.
conscience says, oh yeah, that's right.
Vest pravi, da je to prav.
And the heart says, yeah, that's a gain.
Srce pravi, dobiček.
And it goes to the will,
Pride do volje
and you do it,
in naredite.
right? So at the beginning,
V začetku
you do the wrong
delate slabo,
without any interference.
brez oviranja.
Then, as the conscience becomes enlightened,
Ko vest postaja razsvetljena,
you still do the wrong,
še vedno delate slabo,
but you knew it was wrong,
ampak veste, da je slabo.
and you don't know why you did the wrong,
In ne veste, zakaj ste naredili to, kar je slabo.
right? And it's because the heart is still in a delusion.
In to je zaradi tega, ker je srce še vedno v utvari.
And finally, when the heart is out of the delusion,
Ko je končno izšlo iz napačne predstave,
now you know it's wrong,
zdaj veste, da je slabo,
you don't do it,
tega ne počnete
and it's natural.
in je to postalo naravno.
And when the right comes,
Ko pride prav,
you do it,
naredite
and it's natural,
in tudi to vam je naravno.
right? And and so when we're still giving in to temptation,
Če vseeno popuščamo skušnjavi,
the conscience may be having the right scale,
morda ima vest pravo merilo,
but this is the problem,
tukaj imamo težavo,
right? It's the heart.
to je srce.
The evaluation of gain and loss is backwards.
Ker ocena o tem, kaj je dobiček in kaj je izguba, je na glavo obrnjena.
So I evaluate what will destroy me
Jaz cenim tisto, kar me bo uničilo,
as something that's a gain,
ne cenim, vrednotim
and I
kot
go after it,
dobiček in grem.
right? And I evaluate what would keep me from death
Jaz vrednotim tisto, kar mi bo pomagalo, da ne umrem,
as a loss,
kot izgubo
and I avoid it.
in tega ne jemljem.
So I'm
Se
just,
izogibam.
it's backwards,
Narobe obrnjeno.
right? And I think I went through all that well. All right. And yes. All right. So one of the ways that we tend to respond to temptation and addictions
Eden od načinov, kako se odzovemo na skušnjavo in zasvojenost,
is trying to modify our behavior,
je sprememba obnašanja.
right? But behavior is only the exit.
Ampak vedenje je na izhodu.
It's not the entrance.
Ni na vhodu.
I love having a whiteboard.
Ja, krasno je, da imamo tukaj tablo.
Right. So the channel,
Evo, to je kanal.
right, is flowing in that direction.
Torej, tok je v desno.
So sorry, it's in English.
Vedenje
My behaviors are over here,
je na desni strani.
right? What I do and what I say and
Kar naredim in rečem,
right, that's all out here at the exit.
vse je na izhodu.
So if I try to fix the exit,
Če hočem popraviti tisto, kar je na izhodu,
it's not going to work,
ne deluje.
right? It's like having a hose
Kako da imam cev,
and the water coming out of the hose is dirty,
voda, ki pride iz cevi, je umazana
and I try to filter the water coming out of the hose,
in jaz poskušam filtrirati vodo, ki prihaja skozi cev.
right? It's not going to work.
Ne bo dobro.
If I want to fix the problem, where do I have to fix?
Če hočem popraviti situacijo, kaj moram popraviti?
Yeah, I have to
Here.
fix here,
Vir.
right? This is where the solution is going to come.
Tu mora priti rešitev.
If there's a problem here,
Če je težava pri obnašanju,
that's not where I fix it.
tega ne popravljam.
I have to fix it here at the entrance,
Moram popraviti tam, kjer je vhod.
right? What am I attached to?
Kaj me privlači?
Who am I taking from,
Od koga jemljem?
right? Do I have people as my source?
Ali imam za vir ljudi?
If so, I have every reason to
Če
be
tako,
addicted.
imam vsak razlog, da sem zasvojen.
Do I have God as my source?
Ali je moj vir Bog?
Now I have every reason to be full and satisfied.
Jaz imam, če je to tako, potem imam vsak razlog, da bi bil sit in zadovoljen.
Now, in addictions,
Pri zasvojenosti
there's always secrets,
so vedno skrivnosti,
right? There's always lies,
vedno laži.
right? And the reason for this
Zakaj?
is because the addict, the person that has the addiction,
Zato, ker je zasvojenec
they are afraid of losing important relationships.
v strahu, da bo izgubil odnos, ki mu je pomemben.
And they believe that if these important relationships know what's going on in their life,
In mislijo, da tisti, ki so jim pomembni v življenju, vedo, kar se dogaja v njegovem življenju,
or they know how bad it is inside,
ali spoznajo, kako hudo je, kar je notri,
that those important people in their life will cut themselves off
da se bodo odmaknili ti pomembni ljudje v njegovem življenju od njih
and they will lose these relationships,
in jih bodo izgubili.
right? And so for the sake of not losing the relationships,
Torej, da jih ne bi izgubili,
they lie about their problems,
se lažejo o svojih težavah,
right? Because they're trying to save the relationships.
ker rešujejo odnos.
But if you have people that could care less whether you're doing this or that,
Če pa ste v odnosu z ljudmi, ki jim je vseeno, če delate to ali ono,
you're free to be open with them about your use or your abuse or whatever.
imate svobodo, da se z njimi pomenite o tem, kar zlorabite, recimo.
But if you think that they would not accept you because of your addiction,
Če pa mislite, da vas ne bodo sprejeli zaradi vaše zasvojenosti,
those are the ones that you're going to lie to and have secrets,
pač takim boste lagali
right?
in imeli
And
skrivnosti.
All right. So here we're in the land of defeat,
Tu smo v deželi poraza,
and over there is the land of victory.
na drugi strani je dežela zmage.
And then the land of victory, there's victory and there's
V tej
freedom,
deželi
and
je svoboda in zmaga
purpose,
in namen,
love and joy,
ljubezen,
and peace,
veselje,
and
mir,
patience, and kindness,
potrpežljivost,
goodness,
prijaznost,
faithfulness, gentleness,
vesloba,
self-control, right?
nežnost, samoobvladanje.
Right. There's all these things.
Vse to.
And down in the canyon,
V prepadu
there's loss of relationships,
je izguba odnosov
there's loss of identity,
in identitete,
loss of respect,
spoštovanja,
losing your career,
izgubili boste službo,
withdrawal symptoms,
boste imeli otegnitvene težave,
a life without escape mechanisms,
boste mislili, da ste v situaciji, kjer ni izhoda,
failure,
da ste izguba,
death,
smrt.
right? There's all of these different things.
Vse te stvari so tukaj.
Now, I want what's in the land of victory,
Jaz si želim to, kar je v deželi zmage.
and I fear what's down in the canyon,
In se bojim tega, kar je v prepadu.
right? Now, what happens if I'm comfortable where I'm at?
Kaj, če se dobro počutim tu, kjer sem?
What am I going to do?
Kaj bom naredil?
Yeah, I'm going to stay there,
Ostal bom tam, kjer sem.
right? I'm going to stay where I'm at as long as I'm comfortable where I'm at,
Doklerkoli mi je dobro tam, kjer sem, bom ostal.
right? And now, what if I'm unaware of the land of victory?
Kaj, če se ne zavedam, da obstaja dežela zmage?
What's going to happen?
Kaj se bo zgodilo?
Yeah, I'm going to stay where I'm at,
Ostal bom, kjer sem.
right? And what if I think it's impossible to get across the canyon to the other side?
Kaj, če mislim, da je nemogoče, da bi prečkal ta kanjon?
Then what? I'm going to stay there,
Spet bom ostal.
right? So as long as I don't know about this,
Dokler ne vem, da obstaja,
as long as I'm comfortable where I am,
dokler mi je dobro, da sem tukaj,
as long as I think it's impossible to
in
get
mislim, da je
across,
nemogoče, da bi šel čez,
or my fear here is greater than what I want there,
ali pa se tega bojim črnega bolj, kakor si želim rumeno.
I'm staying here,
Ostajam, kjer sem.
right? Now, what if where I am, I have stress
Kaj, če tu, kjer sem, čutim stres
and I hate myself
in se sovražim
and I fail,
in imam neuspeh
I'm bitter,
in sem zagrenjen,
I have disease,
bolan,
I'm addicted,
zasvojen,
I feel guilty,
počutim se krivega
I have all sorts of problems,
in vse žive težave imam.
I have meaninglessness,
Ne vidim smisla.
right? And all of these things are on me.
Vse to je zdaj moja družba.
Oh. All right. Well, that becomes a motivation
To postaja motivacija
in that direction,
v desno.
right? So you can start seeing an equation.
Zdaj se vam pred očmi pojavlja enačba.
If this is really good,
Če je to res dobro,
if that is really bad,
če je to zelo slabo,
and this isn't so bad,
to pa ne tako strašno slabo,
all
bom skočil tja.
right, there's the desire to get across to the other side,
Želja bo, da pridem na drugo stran.
right? But if this is really big,
Če je to velikansko,
well, you might not be going there.
verjetno ne boste šli čez.
If that's not so bad,
Če to ni tako strašno,
you might not be going
morda
there,
ne boste šli čez.
right? So you see how that happens.
Vidite, kako se dogaja.
Now, the story is told of a tightrope artist
Obstaja zgodba o nekem umetniku ali akrobatu, ki je hodil po vrvi.
right? There was, and I'll just tell you more of the story. There was a famous tightrope artist in the 1800s.
V 19. stoletju je živel znani akrobat na vrvi.
And his name was Charles Blondin.
Bil je Charles Blondin po imenu.
You can look him up on Google,
Najdete ga, če uporabite Google.
right? And he grew up in France.
Odrasel v Franciji,
His parents worked for the circus,
njegovi starši so delali v cirkusu
and they thought he would be good on acrobatics.
in so mislili, da bo dober akrobat.
So when he was 4, they started teaching him tightrope,
In ko je bil 4 leta star, sta ga učila hoditi po vrvi.
right? And you begin by having the rope tied, a tight rope on the ground.
Začne se tako, da imate vrvico na tleh
And you just get used to walking on it and walking
in se
on it.
navadiš hoditi po vrvici na tleh.
And then you bring it up a couple of centimeters,
Potem drugi korak je, da malo dvigneš za kakšen
you
centimeter
know, and then you bring it up a little more
in še malo več,
and a little
više,
more,
še više.
until eventually a 5-year-old is 8 feet in the air walking back and forth on a tightrope.
In potem 3 metra visoko, 5-letnik hodi po vrvi.
Right? And he was very good at the tightrope.
In on je bil zelo dober pri tem.
He moved to the United States,
preselil se v Ameriko
and he worked for some of the major circuses there.
in je delal v nekih velikih znanih cirkusih.
And on June 30,
30. junija
1859,
1859.
Charles Blondin was the first individual to attempt to cross Niagara Falls on a tightrope.
Je postal prvi človek, ki je poskusil prečkati Niagarine slapove po vrvi.
At its lowest point, it was almost 16 stories above the canyon below.
Na najnižjem mestu je bilo skoraj 16 nadstropij visoko.
Right? And it was about it was close to 350 meters across.
Široko je bilo skoraj 350 metrov.
Right? And he had a crowd of 25,000 people that showed up to watch him cross
25,000
Niagara
ljudi je
Falls.
prišlo gledati, kako bo prečkal Niagarine slapove.
And for his first attempt, he took a balance bar.
V prvem poskusu je imel tisto, kar ima, palico za balansiranje.
Right, and so he successfully went across from New York to Canada.
In je iz države New York šel v Kanado uspešno.
And then he put down the balance bar.
Potem je pustil tisto prečko.
And using his arms, he walked
samo
back
roke
across.
je uporabljal in balansiral tako in prečkal še.
And then he got a wheelbarrow.
Potem je vzel kako se reče lepše, samokolnico, ja.
Right, and he put the wheel of the wheelbarrow on the line.
In potem je dal samokolnico na vrv.
And he pushed the wheelbarrow across from one side to the other.
In je porival to samokolnico na drugo stran.
Now, in his entire career,
V vsem življenju, ali pa v tem početju,
he crossed Niagara Falls over 300 times.
300-krat je šel čez Niagarine slapove.
Right, not that day, but
Ne tisti dan
his
vse,
whole
ampak
career.
vsem življenju.
And one time he went across on stilts. Yeah, you know where you have the wooden pieces down below you so that you stand up here.
Tisto.
Uh-huh.
Hodulje, hodulje je imel. Na hoduljah je šel. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so he went across on stilts one time.
Na hoduljah je šel enkrat.
Right. Another time he had a sack tied around his head so he was blind.
Drugič si je povezal vrečo na glavi, tako da ni videl nič.
Right. Another time he took Harry, his manager, on his back.
Enkrat je imel Harija, ki je bil njegov menedžer na hrbtu.
Right. And another time he took a table and a chair.
Še enkrat je vzel mizo in stol.
And he balanced the table on the line.
In je to balansiral na vrvi.
And he balanced the chair behind him.
In tudi zadaj pa je imel ta stol.
And he sat down on the chair.
In se je usedel na stol.
And then he went to put his legs up on the table.
Potem je dal je šel dati nogo na mizo.
And he grabbed the line and the table and the chair went down into the canyon.
In je se v zadnji hip se ujel za vrv, izgubil pa je rekvizite.
Right. So he was very good at what he did.
Bil je res dober v tem, kar je delal.
Now the story is told that one day he was doing his act at the canyon.
Zgodba je bila, da ko je imel to svoje predstavo v Grand Canyonu.
And he did his grand finale.
In to je bilo neko veliko finale.
And the crowd was cheering, they wanted more.
Ljudje so ploskali in so hoteli še.
And so he's thinking, what do I do?
In je rekel, pa kaj zdaj?
And he got an idea.
In se je domislil.
And he called down to the crowd.
In je zavpil gledalcem.
And he said, who believes that I can get someone safely across in the wheelbarrow?
Je rekel, kdo verjame, da lahko v samokolnici prečkam z njim čez Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
Vsi so bili so verjeli.
So, okay, I need a volunteer.
Potrebujem, kako se reče? Prostovoljca, ja. Nobody, I know. Kaj pa Harry? What about his manager?
Yeah, no, only on his back. Yeah. So it's one thing that the canyon represents sin.
Kanjon predstavlja greh.
Success is over here.
Tukaj je uspeh.
Failure is over here.
Poraz je tam.
And And there's no way that I can get across this myself.
Ni možnosti, da bi jaz sam preskočil na drugo stran.
And but there must be a way.
Mora pa obstajati način.
Not because I did something.
Ne zato, ker sem jaz zmožen nečesa narediti.
But because God did something for me.
Ampak zaradi nečesa, kar je Bog storil zame.
Right. And where's the slide? Where am I? Here I am. So Jesus spanned the canyon with his own life.
Bog je premostil ta kanjon s svojim življenjem.
He stands there with the wheelbarrow.
On tam stoji s samokolnico.
And he says, "Come on, get in.
In pravi, pridi noter.
I'll take you across to the other side."
Jaz te bom popeljal na drugo stran.
You know, but really,
Ampak, res? Kaj, nekaj vrgel pa je padlo.
I don't know about getting into that wheelbarrow.
Ne vem, kaj bo s tem z mano v samokolnici.
Right? Where I'm standing feels pretty secure.
Tu, kjer sem, čutim se varnega.
And that looks pretty not secure.
Tam pa prav ne.
Right? And so as long as, you know, as long as it's not so bad here,
Doklerkoli ni tako strašno na tej strani,
I'm not so excited about getting into the wheelbarrow.
nisem prav navdušen, da bi se usedel v samokolnico.
But when the bear comes,
Če bi prišel medved
and the bear starts getting close,
in se že približuje,
I start getting more of a motivation to get into the wheelbarrow.
se mi zdi, da raste motivacija, da bi se usedel v samokolnico.
Right? And for some people,
Za nekatere ljudi,
they see the bear,
ki vidijo medveda,
that's it, they get in the wheelbarrow.
oni tak pri priči gredo v samokolnico.
Right? Other people,
Drugi ljudje
the bear has to get much closer before they're willing to get in the wheelbarrow.
počakajo, da medved pride bliže, veliko bliže, da bi se usedli.
And some people,
Nekateri pa,
they get into the wheelbarrow with one arm missing
nekateri pridejo v samokolnico brez ene roke,
because they weren't getting in there until the bear really started tearing them to pieces.
ker se ne bodo usedli, preden jim odgrizne roko.
Right? It depends on
Odvisno to je od tega,
how much you fear what's down here
koliko se bojite tega, kar je tukaj.
compared to the hell of what this is,
V primerjavi pekla, ki ga čutite tukaj.
as opposed to how much you really want this.
In še je v enačbi, kako si zelo želite tega, kar je na drugi strani.
Right? And so the worse this is,
Slabše, ko je tisto,
the better this is,
boljše, ko je tisto.
and how not so bad this is,
In če ni to tako strašno tukaj,
eventually you get to a point
prideš do točke,
where it's a gain to get into the wheelbarrow.
torej prideš enkrat do točke, da je dobiček, da se usedeš v samokolnico.
And when it finally is a gain to get into the wheelbarrow,
Ko je končno dobiček, da se usedeš,
you get in
se usedeš.
and things begin to change.
Takrat se začnejo spreminjati stvari.
Right? I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I grew up in church,
Kot sem povedal malo prej, sem zrasel v cerkvi.
but that doesn't save you from anything.
Ampak to te ne reši česarkoli.
Right? You have the same miserable problems in church as you have outside of church.
V cerkvi imate iste bedne stvari, ki se dogajajo, kakor zunaj.
Right? And so I grew up and I had, you know, I liked the stories that I listened to.
Meni so bile všeč zgodbe, ki sem jih slišal v cerkvi.
I went to a really big church. We had 2,500 people.
Hodil sem v cerkev, ki je bila velika, 2500 ljudi.
So I had lots of friends at church,
In sem imel veliko prijateljev v
you
cerkvi.
know. So from a social standpoint, I liked it.
Kar se tiče družbenega vidika, sem zadovoljen.
But it didn't change my life.
Ampak moje življenje ni bilo spremenjeno.
Right? And over time, I ended up developing one addiction and then two addictions
Jaz sem
and three
tako
addictions.
nekako pridobil eno zasvojenost, pa drugo in tako.
Right? And my parents divorced, and
Moji starša sta se ločila
then my half brother and half sister were not in the home anymore.
in moj polbrat in polsestra nista več bila doma
And so there was a lot of loneliness,
in tako sem bil osamljen.
right? And I hadn't learned what I know about God.
Jaz se nisem naučil tistega, kar sem vam govoril o Bogu.
I believed that He existed,
Verjel sem, da obstaja.
but I didn't understand who He was and what He was like.
Ampak nisem razumel, kakšen je in
I didn't know who He was and what He
kdo
was
je
like.
in kakšen je.
Right? And so I was, oh man, I hated myself.
Sovražil sem se,
I kept trying to overcome.
poskušal sem
I
premagati
kept failing at overcoming.
in to mi ni uspevalo nikakor.
My life became more and more miserable.
In bolj bedno sem se počutil vsak dan.
I would lie to everybody
Vsem sem se lagal,
because I wanted them to like me.
ker sem hotel, da bi jim bil všeč.
And I really hated myself.
In sem sovražil sebe res.
And I knew that if others knew me as well as I knew myself,
Če me bodo drugi poznali takšnega kot sem,
they would hate me like I hate myself.
me bodo sovražili podobno, kakor jaz sovražim sebe.
And I was ready to leave myself.
Razdesmin.
I was ready to leave me.
Yes.
Yes.
Make suicide.
Well, I was ready to exit myself and be somewhere else.
Bil sem pripravljen zapustiti sebe in biti nekdo drug.
Right? But I couldn't get out of my own skin.
Ampak nisem mogel zapustiti kože.
And I was stuck with me.
In sem obtičal pri sebi.
And that was miserable.
In to je bilo bedno.
And I hated being stuck with me.
In sem sovražil dejstvo, da ne morem ven.
But anybody else who was not in my skin,
Ampak nihče, ki ni bil v moji koži,
they could leave.
Nihče ni, tisti, ki niso bili v moji koži, so lahko šli.
Right? And if they knew how bad it was, they would leave.
In če bodo spoznali, kakšen sem, oziroma ko so spoznali, kakšen sem, so me zapustili.
So I never wanted anybody to know how bad it was
Zato nisem nikomur hotel povedati, kako hudo je bilo.
because I didn't want them to leave me.
Leave me, ne believe me, ok.
Yeah, leave me.
Ok, nisem hotel, da me zapustijo.
Right. And so, that was my life.
To je bilo moje življenje.
It was getting worse.
Bilo je slabše in slabše.
I married my wife.
Poročil sem se,
We had 2 children.
imela sva 2 otroka,
Well, we have 6 now, but
zdaj imava 6.
we had 2 then.
Takrat sta bila 2.
And it was just so much of a burden.
To je bilo veliko breme.
And I know why people want to commit suicide.
Jaz vem, zakaj ljudje poskusijo samomor.
Right? I know why people cut themselves.
Vem, zakaj se porežejo.
I know the desperation of depression.
Vem, kaj je groza, depresije.
Right? I know what it is to have panic attacks.
In vem, kaj pomeni imeti panične napade.
Right? And I know what it is to hate yourself so much that you can't stand yourself.
In vem, kaj pomeni sovražiti sebe, da se ne morete prenašati.
And I got to the point where I was like, it's enough.
Prišel sem do točke, ko sem rekel, zdaj dovolj.
Right? I can't do this anymore.
Tega ne more več.
Church doesn't work.
Cerkev ne pomaga,
God doesn't work.
Bog ne pomaga,
I don't work.
jaz
Family doesn't work.
ne deluje, družina ne pomaga,
Nothing works.
nič ne deluje.
I'm tired of trying.
Dovolj mi je teh poskusov.
Right? It must be better just to stop fighting the addictions and let them carry me where they will.
In bolje, da pustim, da se ne borim proti zasvojenosti in pustim, da me peljejo, kamor že peljejo.
And so now I was planning to leave my wife and children
In sem načrtoval zapustiti ženo in otroka.
because they didn't deserve to go where I was planning on going.
Oni se niso zaslužili iti po poti, ki sem jo zdaj načrtoval zase.
And to save them the pain of the journey,
In da bi jim prihranil bolečino te poti,
it would be better to leave them.
bi bilo bolje, da jih zapustim.
And it was a very dark time in my life.
To je zelo temačno obdobje mojega življenja.
And it was, and then my wife found out what was going on in secret.
Potem je moja žena ugotovila, kaj se dogaja skrivoma.
And she confronted me with what she found out.
In je prišla k meni s to ugotovitvijo.
And I had nothing to deny.
Nisem mogel zanikati.
And, but I had come to a point in my life where I couldn't feel sorry for anything either.
Ampak sem prišel že do te točke, da nisem niti obžaloval ničesar več.
In fact, I couldn't feel much of anything.
Pravzaprav nisem mogel čutiti ničesar.
Now, I could feel self-hatred.
Ne, čutil sem samo sovraštvo
I could feel anger.
in jezo
I could feel pain.
in bolečino.
There's a few things like that I could
Torej,
feel.
nekaj stvari sem lahko čutil, drugače pa sem bil brez.
But most of the rest of it I couldn't feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was then that my wife encouraged me to do some things that I didn't want to do.
Potem je žena spodbudila, da naredim nekaj, kar se mi ni ljubilo.
And in the midst of it,
In sredi tega
God was working on me as well.
je Bog na mojem primeru delal.
And he was encouraging me to get into the wheelbarrow.
In me je spodbujal, naj se usedem v samokolnico.
And I was like, no.
Jaz sem rekel, ne, to pa ne.
No. I don't think I can, I can't trust you like that.
Toliko ti ne morem zaupati.
So he gave me a thought.
Dal mi je misel.
And the thought was,
Ta pa je bila.
how's it going with you in control?
Kaj se dogaja že, ko si ti imaš nadzor?
You know how it's going with me in control.
Ti veš, kaj se dogaja, ko sem jaz v nadzoru.
I hate myself.
Sovražim se
I fail at everything that I do.
in sem izguba, pri česar se lotim, sem izguba.
I hurt everyone that I love.
Škodoval sem vsem, ki jih ljubim,
And everything is being destroyed.
in vse je že uničeno.
That's how it's going with me in control.
To se dogaja, ko jaz nadzorujem stvari.
And so I had another thought.
In sem imel drugo misel.
Why don't you just give me a chance?
Zakaj mi ne daš priložnost?
But what does that mean?
Kaj pa to pomeni?
What am I going to have to give up?
Česa se bom moral, od česa se moram ločiti?
What am I going to have to do?
Kaj bom moral narediti?
Where am I going to have to go?
Kam bom šel?
I don't know.
Ne vem.
I don't know if I can trust you like that.
Ne vem, če ti lahko tako zaupam.
And he reminded me,
Spomnil me je.
said, Mark, if you remain in control,
Mark, če boš ti imel nadzor,
you will lose everything.
boš izgubil vse.
But if you get in the wheelbarrow,
Če se usedeš v to samokolnico,
you might not.
morda ne boš.
He didn't say you won't.
Ni rekel ne boš,
He said you might not.
morda ne boš. Izgubil vsega se, mislim.
So I was left with either certainly losing everything,
Torej sem se soočil z dvema možnostima. Ali bom zagotovo izgubil vse
or maybe not losing everything.
in morda, če se usedem, ne bom izgubil vsega.
And I can't exactly tell you what happened
Ne morem natančno povedati, kaj se je zgodilo
or how it happened,
ali kako se je zgodilo.
but as I was wrestling with this decision,
Ko sem se boril s to odločitvijo,
I do believe that God helped me
dejansko verjamem, da mi je Bog pomagal,
because I was not willing,
ker mi ni bilo pri srcu.
but somebody said, well, if you're not willing,
Nekdo je rekel, če pa če nimaš volje,
at least talk to God and tell him you're willing to be made willing.
Vsaj reci v molitvi Bogu, da si pripravljen, da ti On pomaga, da bi imel voljo.
Right? And so I was willing to say that.
In bil sem pripravljen povedati tako.
And anyways, I came to the point where I came to a very firm decision
Prišel sem do trenutka, ko sem naredil čvrsto odločitev.
if I lose everything,
Če izgubim vse,
if I die,
če umrem,
so be it.
naj bo tako.
I just have to be free,
Ampak moram biti svoboden.
whatever it takes.
Naj stane koliko če.
Right? And that was the point where I got in the wheelbarrow.
V tem trenutku sem se usedel v samokolnico.
Right? And then things began to change in my life.
Potem so se stvari začele spreminjati.
Right? Before, there were things I could not say no to.
Prej so bile stvari, ki jih nisem mogel zavrniti.
And now I began to be able to say no to those things.
Zdaj sem naenkrat imel sposobnost povedati ne.
My life and my lifestyle began to change.
Moje življenje in moj način življenja se je začel spreminjati.
Where I had only had failures before, I started seeing victories.
Prej sem imel na nekaterih področjih samo poraz, zdaj sem začel gledati, da imam zmage.
Right? And yes, life began to change.
Torej se je življenje začelo spreminjati.
Right? And where is that? Computer's running slow. All right. And so this is what he offers to each of us.
To Bog ponuja vsakemu od nas.
Right. Yep, no, relapse. So there's a false victory when it comes to addictions.
Pri zasvojenosti obstaja tudi lažna zmaga.
And the false victory is that I'm never going to participate in this again.
Lažna zmaga je, nikoli se več ne bom dotaknil tega, kar je bilo zasvojenost.
But I can do that simply because of negative consequences.
Ampak lahko to naredim samo zaradi tega, ker se drugače pojavijo negativne posledice.
Without a real change of heart.
Torej, samo zaradi posledic, ne zaradi prave spremembe srca.
Or we can simply switch to a more socially acceptable addiction.
Morda zamenjamo svojo zasvojenost z neko, ki je bolj sprejemljiva v družbi.
But if you are not in the wheelbarrow,
Ampak če niste v samokolnici,
you can never be free from addiction,
ne morete biti svobodni zasvojenosti.
even though you might be able to switch from one addiction to another one.
Če prav boste morda zmogli moč, da boste šli v neko drugo.
But true victory when it comes to addictions
Prava zmaga, ko gre za zasvojenost,
is being satisfied when it comes to love.
da ste zadovoljni, ko mislite na, ko gre za ljubezen.
That I have God as my source,
Da imam Boga za vir
I'm taking from Him everything that I need,
in od njega jemljem, karkoli potrebujem,
and I'm attracted by what He offers,
in me privlači tisto, kar je njegova ponudba.
and I see the addiction as a loss.
In vidim zdaj zasvojenost kot izgubo.
Right? And so now things begin to change, not because of external pressures,
Torej so se stvari začele dogajati ne zaradi zunanjega pritiska,
but because the scale of my heart, the measure or the scale in my heart changes.
zato ker se je tehtnica ali merilo mojega srca spremenilo.
And now, instead of having the lack of love,
Zdaj, namesto da čutim pomanjkanje ljubezni,
right, now I have love from God,
sem imel Božjo ljubezen.
and I'm giving that love to others.
In to ljubezen sem lahko dal drugim.
It's pleasurable to take in what you need and to give it away,
Užitek je, ko sprejmeš in tudi ko daješ.
right? There's no need for a substitute
Ne rabiš tistega, kar bi, kako se reče,
because
zamenjava.
you already have the pleasure,
Ker imate že užitek
your needs are satisfied,
in so zadovoljene vaše potrebe.
and it's joyful,
In prinaša veselje.
right? And so it's a good replacement for the addiction
To je dobra
cycle,
zamenjava za zasvojenost.
right? And so that getting into the wheelbarrow
To dejstvo, da sem stopil v samokolnico,
is really the key to victory,
je ključ uspeha.
and it represents surrender,
Predstavlja izročitev,
right? It results in a transformation of how my heart evaluates information,
posledica tega je sprememba, transformation which?
of my heart,
Ja, srca.
how it evaluates gains and losses,
Torej, ocenjevanja dobička in izgube.
right? And now I'm enabled to pursue freedom where I could not before.
Zdaj sem lahko svoboden, medtem kot prej nisem bil.
And it's because of the one who loves me,
To je zaradi tega, ki me je ljubil,
who doesn't want to exist, the one who wants to be with me,
zaradi nekoga, ki hoče biti z mano,
right? And the one who is willing to do everything he can in order to help me to be free.
in ki je pripravljen narediti vse, kar je treba, da bi jaz bil svoboden.
And that's beautiful.
To je čudovito.
So, any questions?
Imate kakšno vprašanje, Branko?
Glede na to, da smo ljudje navajeni sami reševati svoje probleme.
Since we are accustomed just resolve our own problems,
Težko sprejmemo nekaj,
And we
kjer
can
ne sodelujemo.
hardly accept a solution that we are not participants important.
Zaprav, kaj bi bil tvoj praktičen nasvet.
What is
v smislu,
an advice,
če
practical
pridem k
advice?
tebi in rečem,
If I come to you and
zdaj le
ask,
želim
I tell
sesti
you,
v samokolnico.
I want to get
Kaj to
into the
pomeni?
wheelbarrow, what does it
Potem
mean?
ti samo reči, da želiš,
Do you
torej,
just
kateri so
say,
praktični koraki,
I will, I want it? What are the practical,
izražajo potem in dajo Bogu pooblastilo, da naredi
which
spremembe.
give opportunity to God to do what He wants in your life?
Okay. So if you go ahead and summarize that here for those that are online, and then I'll answer it. I mean, for those that are going to watch the video
Ja,
later.
kakšni so praktični koraki, z ozirom na to, da nismo ravno pripravljeni poslušati nasvet, da bi sprejeli rešitev, v kateri ne sodelujemo preveč, torej preveč se zanašamo nase. Torej, vprašanje je, kaj naj praktičnega naredim, da bi se usedel v to samokolnico in da bi pustil Jezusu, da naredi, kar hoče za mene.
Right. So in that case, I want to know more information about the individual.
V tem primeru me zanima več o posamezniku.
Because typically there is something very important to them that they fear losing.
Navadno je tako, da se oni bojijo, da bodo izgubili nekaj.
And that call to get into the wheelbarrow is the potential of losing something valuable to them.
Vabilo, da bi se usedli v samokolnico, je potencialno izguba tistega, kar jim je ljubo.
And so I want to know what that thing is.
Mene zanima, kaj jim je ljubo.
Right? Because if I know what that is,
Ko jaz to vem
and they know what that is,
in oni se zavedajo tega,
now we can talk specifically about that particular issue.
potem se pogovarjajo o tem.
And now we can reason together in relation to that issue.
In se zdaj modruje ali pa uporablja razum, ko se določa, kaj se bo v tem primeru naredilo.
And see if we can motivate them
In poskušam motivirati ljudi,
to, let me get back to the picture,
naj pridem do
right? See if we can help motivate them to minimize the fear of the loss of whatever that is.
ali jih lahko spodbudim, da minimalizirajo, da skrčijo strah, ki se nanaša na izgubo na to področje spodaj.
And emphasize his trustworthiness
In poskušam poudariti Jezusovo vrednost zaupanja
and the benefits to be gained by the decision,
in koristi, ki jih ta odločitev prinaša.
right? So in my case,
V mojem primeru,
my biggest treasure
moj največji zaklad
was my wife,
je bila moja žena.
right? She was, if there's anything in life that I feared to lose, it was her.
Če sem se bal, da bom izgubil karkoli na svetu, je bila to ona.
Yet I was doing many things to hurt her,
Ampak sem delal dosti tega, kar jo je žalostilo ali pa prizadelo.
and what I believed would cause her to leave me.
In za kar sem mislil, da jo bo spodbudilo, da me zapusti.
And so since I feared losing her,
Ker sem se bal, da jo bom izgubil,
I always lied.
sem se vedno lagal.
I always had secrets
Sem imel te skrivnosti.
because I was afraid that if she knew,
Če bo ona vedela,
she would leave me.
me bo zapustila.
And in this call for me to get into the wheelbarrow,
V povabilu, da se spravim v samokolnico,
one of the options, well, one of the instructions that I was given
eno navodilo, ki sem ga jaz dobil
by a counselor
od svetovalca,
was that I should be transparent with my wife
je bilo, da bom transparenten, ko gre za mojo ženo.
about my various different failures and
O mojih spodrsljajih,
So on.
odličnih in tako.
and that was terrifying to me
To je meni bilo strahotno.
because I knew that if I told her,
Vedel sem, da če ji bom povedal,
she would leave me,
da bo šla.
and she was my greatest treasure.
In ona je bila moj največji zaklad.
And so I had never been willing to go there
Nisem bil pripravljen v to smer,
because I had never been willing to lose that treasure.
ker nisem hotel izgubiti zaklada.
But when God was reasoning with me in my mind,
Ko je Bog spregovoril pravzaprav meni v umu
and He convinced me that I was going to lose her anyway,
in me prepričal, da jo bom itak izgubil,
and if I continued trying to control everything, I would lose her for sure,
in če bom poskušal nadzorovati vse, ne, njo in vse,
But
jo
if-
bom zagotovo izgubil.
But if I got into the wheelbarrow,
Če pa se usedem v samokolnico,
I might not.
morda ne bom.
Now I was left with, am I willing to do whatever is necessary to be free,
Ali sem pripravljen narediti vse, kar je potrebno, da bi bil svoboden,
even if it's at risk of losing her?
čeprav mi grozi, da jo izgubim.
Right? And again, that day I came to the choice
Ta dan sem sem se odločil,
whether I lose her,
če jo bom izgubil
whether I lose everything else,
in izgubil vse drugo,
whether I die,
če umrem,
I just have to be free,
jaz hočem biti svoboden.
whatever it takes.
Karkoli bo že.
And so then practically,
Praktično torej,
I went about the process of being transparent and honest,
sem stopil na pot transparentnosti in poštenosti,
which was painful,
ki je bilo boleče,
and I thought I would lose her,
in sem še vedno mislil, da jo bom izgubil,
but she didn't.
ampak ona ni
She
šla.
didn't leave. Right? She had more grace for me than I had for myself.
Ona je imela več milosti zame, kot sem imel jaz sam zase.
And she didn't hate me like I hated myself.
In me ni sovražila, kakor sem sam sebe.
And in fact, afterwards,
Pravzaprav pozneje
I had so much of a better relationship with her,
sem imel tako boljši odnos z njo
and I found that transparency was wonderful.
in sem ugotovil, da je transparentnost čudovita,
A life without secrets is wonderful.
da je življenje brez skrivnosti čudovito.
I don't have to worry about who knows what.
Ne rabim skrbeti o tem, kdo kaj ve.
It was so freeing.
To je bilo osvobajajoče.
But for me, it was my wife.
Za mene je bila žena,
For other people, it's other things.
za druge je nekaj drugega.
So if somebody asks me that question,
In ko mi kdo pride s tem vprašanjem,
then I want to talk with them and find out what is that thing in their life,
poskušam v pogovoru zvedeti, kaj je njim najbolj na ceni.
right? And then let's talk about it.
In dajva se pogovoriti o tem.
If that's so important to you,
Če je to tebi tako pomembno
and you keep trying to hold on to it,
in ti se tega oklepaš,
you are going to lose it
boš to izgubil.
because that's the law,
To je zakon.
right? The law is if you won't give something up,
Če nečesa nočeš izpustiti iz rok,
you can never hold on to it.
ne moreš se tega oklepati.
The only things that you can truly continue to hold on to are the things you're willing to let go of,
Oklepaš se lahko edino tega, kar si pripravljen zapustiti.
right? And so reasoning with them from this standpoint.
In v tem smislu se z njimi pogovarjam.
But the change of heart must be God's work.
Ampak sprememba srca je Božje delo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it's interesting for me because you are a medical doctor. No?
Zame je zanimivo, zato ker ste zdravnik.
So, let's say you are a man of science, no?
Recimo znanstvenik
And
ste.
it's not always, yes, I know that there are some scientists or that are also religious, but
Vem, da so nekateri znanstveniki tudi versko usmerjeni.
But it's interesting because you were saying that you were in sort of crisis and hiding things and so on.
Rekli ste, da ste v neki krizi in ste skrivali stvari.
And also that you didn't found before some solution in the church, no?
In da v cerkvi niste našli rešitve.
So and then you were studying medicine and so on. So somebody would say how that you didn't search for help or answers in science, no? And that,
Kako da niste iskali rešitve v znanosti?
because how you relate so religion, God, science, research. And
V
how
kakšnem
you
odnosu so vera, znanost, cerkev, Bog?
see your answers?
Yes, yes. By that point, I had already come to some conclusions.
V tem trenutku, v tem obdobju sem jaz že prišel do nekih sklepov.
And one of the conclusions that I came to
En od teh sklepov
was that an attempt to use the broken operating system
poskus, da bi uporabil pokvarjeni operativni sistem,
to fix the broken operating system,
da bi pokvarjen operativni sistem popravil,
it's not something that can work,
ne bo deloval.
right? Because if the operating system is corrupted,
Če je pokvarjen ta operativni sistem,
the only way that you can fix it
edini način, da ga popravite,
is by connecting to another operating system that is working
je, da se povežete z delujočim operativnim sistemom
and borrow it over
in posodite si tega.
and overwrite the corrupted operating system with the uncorrupted one.
In zbrišete to s pomočjo tistega pravilno delujočega.
And I had already come to the conclusion that self-help methods don't work.
In sem že vedel, da metode pomagaj si sam ne delujejo.
I mean, it's a big section in the bookstore.
V knjigarni imate veliko polico, sam svoj mojster ali pomagaj samemu sebi.
Right? And I would say that my bias, and it was a bias, was that psychology did not have the answers. Moja pristranskost je bila, psihologija nima odgovorov. Right? And I had been through rotations with psychiatry. Jaz sem bil v praksi krožil in tudi na psihiatriji delal. And and I had done rotations with the psychiatrists. Torej bil sem blizu psihiatrov. And different psychiatric hospital. V različnih psihiatričnih bolnišnicah. And recovery programs. In tudi v programih, ki so bili namenjeni pomoči takšnim. And I knew that in my own experience, having gone through those different rotations, in sem vedel, da moja izkušnja v teh vseh kroženjih, I didn't get any better, but I got worse during them. Ni bila nič boljša, ampak se je poslabšala. Right. And so I had very little confidence in what that could offer. Nisem prav dosti zaupal, da bi mi kaj lahko pomagalo tam. And I will say that my personal experience was a strong factor from that standpoint. In moram povedati, da je moja osebna izkušnja bila pomemben faktor. And in my mind, the thing that was going to work was God. V mojem umu je bila misel, da bo pomagal, da lahko pomaga Bog. And if he wasn't working, če pa to ne deluje, nothing was going to work. Nič ne bo. And therefore I was giving up on everything. Zato sem jaz dvignil roko od vsega. Right. And so that was some of my mindset at the time. V tem trenutku sem nekako tako premišljeval. And some of my personal biases at the time. In tudi pristranskost v tem času. Yeah.